You're listening to the Holistic Nootropics Podcast, your home for holistic, evidence-based cognitive enhancement strategies. And now your host, Eric Levi.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Holistic Nootropics Podcast, where we discuss using nootropics, biohacking, and nutrition to help you boost your cognition. My name is Eric, and if it's your first time here, you enjoy what you're seeing, what you're listening to, make sure you subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that little big red button just below the video and give it a big thumbs up. And if you are listening to this on any podcast player, head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a nice review, preferably 5 stars would be great. And if you are someone who is into finding the best quality supplements and nootropics on the market today, then head on over to holisticnootropics.com. Right there on the homepage, I have my supplement buying guide. You get a free download of my supplement buying guide, which is a fully comprehensive guide that will walk you through ingredient by ingredient on how to find the best quality supplements and nootropic products on the market today. Because let's face it, my guest probably knows this too, most of the products on the market are absolute trash. That's because the supplement industry is a $100 billion industry, and most of it gets flushed down the toilet because companies are cutting corners using cheap products. And in fact, sometimes they even do analysis of the products on the market and find that the product isn't even in the product that you're buying. So I'm going to help you find the best stuff on the market. Head on over to holisticnootropics.com and get that supplement buying guide. All right, let's jump into today's podcast with my guest, Dustin Baker. Dustin is the president of Bioprotein Technology and creator of BioPro Plus, the first 100% non-synthetic alternative to prescription human growth hormone treatment. Dustin, welcome to the Holistic Nootropics Podcast.
Eric, wow, I'm impressed with that intro. I mean, that was intense. I like it. That was really well done.
Yeah,
thank you, man.
I'm hopped up on HGH, baby. What can you say? It's coffee.
I like it. Yeah,
more coffee than anything, but why not, right? Actually, this is really interesting because I do get solicited by a lot of entrepreneurs and people who want to come on the podcast and talk about their product. And like I said at the beginning, like there's so many junky products out there. I say no to a lot of people because I just cannot do another conversation about someone's product that I'm never going to use. But your product actually caught my eye because it has a different twist to it. You're essentially mimicking human growth hormone, which is, or I think that's what you're doing. You'll obviously explain what this is, but I find that interesting, and I'm really actually even more interested in the science of it. So, before we jump into the details of the product and kind of what it is, I would love to know what brought you to the health and fitness world, to begin with, and why this route specifically.
Okay, that is a huge question for me. I get it all the time. I will do my best to condense it into the smallest amount possible to spare you and your audience. But, I'm no different really than anybody else. I grew up in a single family home. I was a single, my mom was a single parent. We were left alone all the time. I didn't really have any real discipline. I was never taught about nutrition. I was never taught about health and fitness. I was never taught about any of this stuff. And the reason why I say that is because I grew up like a lot of people in this country with no real backbone for health, wellness, fitness, nutrition, et cetera. My parents knew zero. It's not really their fault. It's, it gets left kind of on the sidelines, for lack of a better term, for a lot of families and kids. It's not always a priority. So I grew up with none of that. So I was a very unhealthy individual through my teen years. I mean, I got into a lot of trouble. I'm a millennial, so I didn't really have much of a direction in life. I barely, squeaked by through high school. So I was in my 20s and I had no direction. I didn't know what I was doing, no discipline, no motivation. I actually was, really into more of the partying scene. I mean, super unhealthy, super bad decisions. And then one day, a really good friend of mine was he literally was. He's like, hey man, why don't you not do that today? And why don't you come work out with me? And I had never really worked out like a day in my life. So I did. And that day was this really like changing point where it just clicked with me, and it became my life. And what it did for me was it taught me discipline. It gave me like a purpose. And I know I know that's actually not really that rare of a story for a lot of people. Like there's these one little things that clicked And I didn't have a direction. I didn't really have a job. I never finished my degree. I didn't have any of these things, and it gave me something. So I stopped everything that I was doing and I devoted my life to everything I could to learn about health, wellness, fitness, nutrition. I ended up under the tutelage of an ex-Olympic athlete who owned and operated performance gyms. And I literally, dude, I lived in basements. I scrubbed barbells. I learned how to fix, like I was welding by the start of this, like welding and fixing equipment. And I learned everything I possibly could about health, nutrition, from these like incredible minds. One thing led to another, and working for free and cleaning toilets led to learning about programming and human performance, which got me into the fitness space. I ended up taking over other people's gyms from a operational standpoint. That catapulted me actually into professional athletics, operating and managing national franchises for sports performance, NFL combine training, et cetera. And the reason why I'm telling you all this is because there was actually a very common thread with a lot of these different business ventures as I was working through my career. And there were these formulas, and they were made out of a small company in Florida owned by two brothers. And they were formulators, and they found this product and created these formulas, and we were using them. And I found them, I loved them, they worked, and we were inputting them with professional athletes for weekend warriors doing, weekend triathlons, just actually 40-plus-year-old individuals who were just working out, trying to stay alive longer. And they worked. And that was the big thing. It's like, wow, these things work and they are easy to use. So one thing led to another. And my business partner and I were kind of like, why don't more people know about this? Why don't they? How has this not caught on? So like any good entrepreneurial story, it's okay, well, we have to figure out a way to get our hands on this stuff. So we did. The company kind of was going through some managerial type issues and finance issues. You can be the best formulator in the world, but if you can't operate, run, and manage a business, it's all for naught. So there was an opportunity there to step in. My career had led me to a point where it gave me the opportunity to do so. We approached the original formulators, purchased the formulas, and a couple of years later, now I'm talking to a guy like yourself, where we've kind of been able to take the original products, dump a ton of cash into marketing and product development, making them much better, safer, make them work faster. And now we're here. Now we have the most popular product that's ever been made by the company, the fastest growing. It's being sold across the world at this point. This week alone, we've had orders from New Zealand, Australia, Switzerland. I mean, it's been pretty wild. So now we're here.
Yeah. Wow. What a story.
Yeah.
I mean, and you're right. Like I talk to so many people, and I have a very not similar story, but kind of like congruent story where it's like, yeah, health and fitness wasn't a part of my life. And then you discover it, and then you're like, oh, wow, I got to get more of this. And I have to help other people do it in whatever way I can. And in your case, that's like the entrepreneurial route, which I think is the most effective route. And it's so interesting that you've seen these products, and I want you to explain what these products are, because, like when people think health and fitness, they think like, oh, like juice, like a green juice, or like vitamins. And then, on this podcast, we talk about biohacking stuff. So like nootropics, or saunas or whatever it is. Right. Mm-hmm. But what you're talking about is a product that you saw exclusively used by high performers, athletic high performers. So, to me, that's so interesting. And I'd love, in your opinion, to explain why you think people don't know about these products and what these products are, instead of being so like it's behind a black curtain. Like what are we talking about exactly?
So what we do and what we focus on is human growth hormone. I'm sure most of your listeners are probably familiar with HGH, human growth hormone. If you're not, here's a quick rundown. It's secreted in your brain. It gets sent to your liver, and then it gets transformed into what are called growth factors. The growth factors are responsible for all different types of processes in your body, from how your metabolism operates, how fast your actual muscle tissue can heal. It actually can increase your VO2 max, the blood oxygen levels in your body, nutrient delivery, stress and cortisol responses, inflammatory response, soft tissue maintenance, all of these. It's a master hormone. In the medical space, they call it a God hormone because it's it's so powerful and it does all of these really cool things. And it's not sex dominant. So men and women equally have human growth hormone. The issue with human growth hormone is that it decreases every single year after you finish puberty. You can't stop it. It doesn't matter how cool you are. It doesn't matter how great you work out. It doesn't matter your nutrition. It's going to decrease. One of our physicians has a really great analogy, and he says it's like a paper cut every day. So the second you finish puberty, you're getting a paper cut every single day. So you don't really realize how important it is until it's 20 years down the road, you're 40, 45, and all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, wow, I feel like crap. My back aches in a weird way. I never felt that before. I'm always exhausted. I have sexual dysfunction, and it just hits you in the face. Well, that's what's happening. So that's where we focus. We work with physicians, athletes, individual weekend warriors, like anybody trying to optimize those levels. We just don't believe in the injections, the synthetic drugs, all the kind of stuff that gives you really nasty side effects of, the pharmaceutical side.
Okay. So you're not using human growth hormone. That's not what you're selling. You're not selling human growth hormone.
Correct. We sell and we formulate the end result of human growth hormone. So as I stated a little bit before, human growth hormone, before it's actually used by the body, is transformed into what are called growth factors. Okay. Growth factors are protein cytokines. They're these little cellular signals that get sent out into your blood to tell different cells to do different things. Your cells want to do stuff. They want to multiply. They want to differentiate. They want to make more of themselves. They want to heal. But there has to be a signal to tell them to do that. That's what hormones are. Hormones are chemical signals that are sent out through the body. Human growth hormone is just transformed into what are called growth factors before the body actually uses it. So what we do is we extract growth factors, living growth factors, from another mammal that is absolutely molecularly identical to what your body produces. So it's exactly the same. And it's not done synthetically. So your body doesn't notice or kick in what's called, a toxic response, because it's not a synthetic pharmaceutical drug. So you can use and signal those same processes in your body without injecting a drug, without the side effects, without, weird stuff that comes with literally pharmaceutical drug use.
Okay. So I've never heard of this approach before, where you're delivering the end product because a lot of times, like for instance, like glutathione, for instance, like you can take glutathione, but a lot of people take AC because your body converts it to glutathione. And this is the same idea with, like B vitamins, B vitamins, they're not great. But when you take B vitamins, they help with metabolism, right? They help with all kinds of things. So you're taking a precursor to get the result that you're just taking the resulting thing. And then I'm just curious, are there studies that show that when you give the body these things, the body knows what to do with them?
There is more science behind growth factor application than you could ever read as a human being. Really? There are some really cool science out there. Like in Japan, they're using specific growth factors to try and reanimate human limbs, like severed human limbs. I think the studies were on somebody's arm or something like that. But there is no shortage of growth factor studies. I like what you said, though, about talking about the precursor. But in the hormone world, to us, that is exactly what creates the problem. So when you take an exogenous hormone and you supply your body with the precursor, let's use your terminology so we keep it congruent here, the precursor, okay? You're signaling your body that it's getting a hormone so it doesn't make more of the natural hormone that you want, okay? So that's called negative feedback loop.
Right.
So when you take let's use testosterone, everybody's really, TRT is really big these days. I'm in Florida, so it's basically on every street corner. When you take exogenous, you're laughing, but it's like so true. Florida,
you just said Florida, and I laughed.
Yeah,
I'm like, it's in Florida. Like that. Yeah, that little phrase.
No rules
for so many things. Yeah, it's in Florida. There you go.
So, and Florida's great. I love Florida. I love giving people the opportunity to do what they want to do within reason and under the supervision of a physician.
Of course,
depending on how you want to look at that. But
I just feel like that should be on the license plate. It's in Florida.
It's in Florida. That's a great. You just gave me a T-shirt idea. Speaking of entrepreneurial, you'll see my website next week.
Just give me some royalties on that.
Royalties. Yep. 100%. Okay.
It's in Florida.
Yeah, it's in Florida. So that's really a great idea. So, oh man, so marketable now too. Anyway, so when you give yourself an exogenous hormone, especially a synthetic hormone, many times, if not all of the time, your body is actually going to shut off or slow the natural production of whatever even you have left. So when you start injecting exogenous testosterone, you will slow down or stop, depending on how much you use, your own natural testosterone production, no matter how low or how high it is. That is exactly what we are trying to not do, because it's the very same with human growth hormone. So you can inject human growth hormone exogenously. It's very, it's very popular. It's insanely expensive, but it absolutely works. It does work. I'm not going to say it doesn't have side effects. It does, but it does work. But you will incur the side effect, which is shutting off of natural production. We don't want that. We don't want you to shut off your natural production. We are basically filling the gap of what you are not producing anymore and where you could be at an optimized natural level. We don't play games in the abnormal range. And what I mean by that is when you get into sports performance and PEDs or performance enhancing drugs, it's the abnormal range, meaning putting your body past what is normally, humanly possible, is number one, how drug tests are popped. And number two, where side effects come in. And number three, where you start to talk about banned substances. So we specifically play and operate in an area that is in the normal range. We just want it optimized. Mm-hmm. So if you're, let's say, in some cases, human growth hormone and its subsequent growth factor levels will go down by 50% by the age 35. Like, that's a huge number. So let's say you're at 50. We just want you to get back up to 100. We're not trying to put you at 105, 110. That is not what we do. That is against what we literally are trying to do as a company. We just want you to get as close to 100 as possible.
Interesting. So these growth factors, so when they test somebody, like you hear about it all the time, like somebody tests positive for growth hormone. I think human growth hormone is not legal in sports. Isn't that like what Mark McGuire took back in the day? And
Mark McGuire, right? Mark McGuire.
I know. But that's like that's what they said, right? It was like human growth hormone. And so, and it was like a gray area. It wasn't illegal, but it was kind of like where is the line? I'm trying to understand where the line is here.
That is you're asking an objective question that requires a subjective response, meaning it depends on the sport. It depends on the country. It depends on the league. But it's a very good, safe, general objective statement to say synthetic human growth hormone is 1000% typically banned as a substance.
Right.
In any major sporting activity. I could not name one right now off the top of my head where it's not banned. I have some ideas, but I wouldn't want to make a statement that is false. So I will, revert and say, as a general rule of thumb, it's 100% probably going to be banned.
But when they test for it, they're testing for the actual substance of growth hormone. They're not testing for these end factors that you.
So actually, no, they actually do. So what they're testing for and how you test human growth hormone is testing insulin-like growth factor 1, which is the main end result of human growth hormone after it's been transformed into growth factor. So when you want to test HGH levels, you test for the end result growth factor levels. The way that when they test somebody for HGH, they don't test your blood and go, oh, he's got synthetic HGH in there, he's toast. No, they test for abnormalities in excessive amounts of end result in your blood. So it'll throw you through the roof at an obscene level. So that's when you start getting tagged. A lot of individuals use synthetic growth hormone and never get tagged because they're just really smart with how they use it. And that's, kind of an issue, but that's up to them. That's a subjective type thing, but we don't mess with that stuff.
Right. Okay. Very interesting. This is so, man, this just has like all the geeky parts of like my health brain just lighting up. Cause like I'm on your website right now and just the different thing, like most people, again, have never heard of this stuff. Like, okay, nerve growth factor, obviously we've heard of, but like platelet derived growth factor, transforming growth factors, alpha and beta, epidermal growth. Like this is it's so interesting. And it just adds a whole other wrinkle to what do I want to give my body to optimize? Like, yeah, do I want to go get a vitamin D supplement? I guess, because why? Because I want more vitamin D, but like, what does that, not to say vitamin D doesn't, obviously vitamin D does so much, but nobody really can like pinpoint, like you put it in your body and it's like going to be like a game of Plinko. Like it's going to go here, it's going to go there, it's going to go like, who knows, right? But with these growth factors you have specifically, they're like fibroblast growth factor, you know where that's going. Epidermal growth factor, you know where that's going. Bone morphogenetic protein, like you know where that's going. Erythropoietin, I saw that, and then that's where my brain kind of went like, all right, I have no idea what's going on anymore because, we're talking about the hormone that makes new blood cells. So like, how does that even, how do you package that and then put that, take it, and then your body just kind of like knows what to do with it?
So the terminology that people like to use, it's primarily, I'm going to say a term here, and I think your audience will actually know very well what the terminology is. But before I say it, the terminology I'm about to use is typically reserved for herbal medicine. But I will use it either way, and that's adaptogenic, meaning your body is going to use what it can, and it won't use what it can, like it doesn't want to. So that's kind of how our product works, is your body is going to use those cellular signals that it's lacking in, and then anything that it's not using any longer or not going to use, it simply excretes through urine or sweat. So we fill in that, those gaps of kind of what you're missing. Does that make sense?
Right. Interesting. So, erythropoietin is controlled through cellular signaling through the kidneys. So if the kidneys are not signaling enough properly, then this will go. Where does this go? Obviously, it goes into your stomach, and then your stomach. Well, actually, kind of knows where to send it, or.
Actually, it gets directly absorbed into your bloodstream. So we use a sublingual delivery method. So we include other ingredients that will express the blood vessels in your mouth, under your tongue specifically. And we have a much higher rate of absorption than anything digestive. We like to avoid the digestive tract as much as we can. We also we also use a proprietary blend that we've created. And before everybody freaks out about proprietary blend, there's nothing hidden in our product. It's just what the terminology is. But we have a very specific trifecta of ingredients that help to increase cellular permeability. The science behind these ingredients would show an increase in absorption rate from 500 to 2,000%. All it's really doing is helping the cell wall to open up, for lack of a better term, so you can increase the absorption rate of nutrients, vitamins, minerals, products, et cetera. We actually see a huge increase in absorption rate of synthetic hormones when our products are paired with them by their physician.
Right. And what are those ingredients?
Shilajit, goji berries, and aloe vera extract.
Okay. And is this like liposomal? Is this like kind of packaged in fat, or is this just kind of straight more water soluble?
No, it's not. It's not liposomal. There's no fat solubility there. It's actually extracted and then put into an alcohol extraction, so that way it can actually get absorbed into your bloodstream through your mouth.
Got you. So you don't take this with food. You just take this.
No, you want empty stomach, 100%. First thing in the morning, empty stomach. 90 seconds under the tongue, swallow whatever's left, and then wait 7 to 9 minutes before you eat or drink anything.
Is this something you can feel? Like the thing is about supplements that I try to like impart on people is like, hey, this isn't coffee. This isn't drugs. This isn't alcohol. Like you're not going to feel B12. You're not going to feel NAC. You're not going to feel this stuff, right? Like it's a long game, but I'm curious, like with this stuff, do you feel it? Like, how does this work?
So what you're talking about in the biz is called an experience product. And so experience products are products that stimulate some sort of immediate reaction like caffeine. Okay. Caffeine it literally elicits a very specific reaction in your brain. It gives you energy. Caffeine actually works differently. It delays and stops your ability to feel tired. It doesn't, but anyway. Right. So is this an experience product? Not in the first few minutes. Okay, that's not how that works. We typically see results with our AM growth factor formula, so morning growth factor formula, within the first week to 12 to 14 days. Overwhelmingly, 12 to 14 days is our anecdotal response from users all the time, whether it's them reaching out to us, phone calls, social media, whatever. They reach out, they're like, man, I feel like I got shot out of a cannon. It's always 12 to 14 days. Always, 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 always. And I have my own reasons behind that. I can tie it to science and explain what's going on, but 12 to 14 days. We do offer a PM formula that we add on, which is a sleep formula, which helps to increase the time spent or uninterrupted time in your deep sleep cycles and your REM cycles, which is where your 70 to 90% of your hormone production, natural hormone production takes place. So we have a product like that. That is an experience product. You will feel that. That works the very first time that you use it, and it works every night thereafter. That is one of our most popular products as well. It is not our growth factor formula. It is simply an additional formula you take to increase your time in those sleep cycles and for recovery, weight loss, anxiety, depression, lowering stress, cortisol levels, etc.
Yeah. So that's like probably one of my biggest interests right now is like optimizing sleep. I think a lot of people, I think like anybody in the biohacking world, like that's all of a sudden now. It used to be like, you'll sleep when you're dead, get as much done as you can. And now it's like,
I've noticed that. It's like everything I'm seeing now is sleep stuff. And I've been waiting for this moment to release the sleep product upon the world for about 3 years. And it's like now I remember reading studies in 2019 for market studies, not scientific studies, market research studies about, where the industry is going, medical industry, what is, what's the next big thing to happen? And in 2019, I was reading a lot about sleep products and I'm like, okay, cool. This is going to be perfect, blah, blah, blah. And, I got to be honest, Sid, whatever study that was, they are spot on because 2022 was when they said it would really, pop off, as the kids would say. And they weren't lying. Sleep is where it's at. And I heard what you said. I couldn't agree more though. Sleep is probably the most underutilized tool in any toolkit, whether it be athletic performance, weight loss, anxiety, depression, stress. Sleep is typically the first thing that's always thrown to the side that people are lacking in, which causes them all kinds of crazy physiological issues.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably because of the rise of like sleep tracking technology. So it's like, for me, it was the Oura Ring. And I will never come on here and say like a product changed my life. But the Oura Ring legitimately changed my life because I just changed everything I did. Like when I started realizing like, oh, the timing of my last meal in the night, it dictates how much deep sleep I get. And then why do I want deep sleep? Oh, well, that's where my brain clears out all of the amyloid beta. That's where like all the testosterone is made. That's where all of my repair mechanisms happen, So like, why would I not want more deep sleep?
While you were saying that, I was like, light bulb in my head, because the Oura Ring is like huge. We mess with Whoop a lot. I really like the Whoop. I don't wear one personally. I am not a fan of wearables. I don't like wearable technology. These headphones I'm wearing is about as much as I'm going to wear. However, a lot of our athletes, especially in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu community, we're huge in BJJ. That's like our thing right now. These guys are running with it. I mean, you're literally getting beat up every day. That's their life. So this has been like a godsend for them. What I'm getting at is those guys love the Whoop, and we get crazy results on Whoop. I'm looking at one right now that day one, before he ever started, this guy was at a 28% recovery. And by day 3, he was at 96%. Wow. Just after day 1, he was at 64%. So he over doubled his recovery, literally, no pun intended, overnight. And then I got another Whoop score today. We had a guy that's been on for a month. And then this is one of our Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu athletes out of Louisiana. He was sending us stuff. I mean, he's literally at 93%. I mean, these guys are getting crazy results, and the Whoop is these Oura Rings Whoops are so awesome because it gives you like real time data, no blood work. Like you can see it in the numbers. If you're not seeing it, then it ain't working. I mean, it's so easy to see what's going on.
Yeah. And that's the addiction of this stuff, is like you start to gamify it because these numbers are so like addicting, like to me, it used to be like, oh man, like I want to I want to get hammered and I want to do this and that. And now it's like, no, I just want like a great sleep score. I want to have my readiness to be above 80.
Good.
You know what I mean?
Good. That's very good for this world today.
Exactly. Right.
Come on, dude. I mean, it's so good. The sleep score. I mean, you can literally change your life overnight.
It changes your life, dude. It like you said, you said you want to feel like you got shot out of a cannon. Like that is the exact phrase I use when anybody says, what is the goal? What should my health goal be? Like, I'm not someone to tell someone how to live their life, but to me, your health goal should not be losing weight. It should not be whatever crazy. It should just be to wake up in the morning and to feel like you got shot out of a cannon and to let that feeling ride throughout the day.
So I couldn't agree more. I think people really get hung up on, and I'm one of them. I'm gonna speak from experience. I think people really get hung up on what their end goal is. It's always like a number on the scale, or it's always like this quantitative thing, which is great, okay? And you should. Or it's like they get these blood results from their doctor, and they're like, oh man, you got to up this, you got to up that, you got to up that, and depending upon where you're. Listen, my whole job is literally talking to physicians on a daily basis and traveling to different parts of the country and having to like educate these people. When you people get these blood work results and they are enamored, they are so like overwhelmed or like, oh, you got to get this number up, you got to get this number up, you got to get this number up. Now, remember, when you do blood work, depending upon when you do it or what you ate, I mean, all of these things can fluctuate and then people freak out. So they're freaking out about numbers on a blood work. And they're freaking out about numbers on a scale, et cetera. Now, let me preface this before if your blood work's really bad and like you have a serious problem, then you need to be fixed. I'm talking about normal day-to-day guys who their cholesterol is a little high, or their cholesterol is a little low, or all of these things that can be affected depending upon what time of day you're getting the blood work done. My point being is, why not use how you feel, how you're operating, how you're sleeping, how your sexual function is. I mean, that's a huge one. You can literally tell yourself what's wrong with your body by sexual function. We could get into that for a long time. But anyway, especially in men, it's directly tied to growth factor levels, blood sugar levels, sleep and stress. I mean, if you have sexual issues, you have one of a few different issues: sleep, stress, blood sugar, low growth hormone. Anyway, if people would just focus more on like, hey, I feel really great. I'm sleeping really great. I have no problem working out. I don't have any weird pains. I think it would change a lot of the kind of like freak out mentality and this over analyzing type of, I'm at a loss for a word here, but like the over paralysis by analysis, if you will, where you freak out about these little things. And I'm one of them, dude. Like my whole career was literally, I was being paid to work out and like look good and, and perform. And I would freak out all the time about, what my scale was, what did I look like, et cetera. Had I flipped the switch and been, how do I perform better? How do I feel better? How do I, et cetera? I wouldn't have been on this hamster wheel for years of going, up and down and changes in my body, et cetera, et cetera. I think the lack of how do you feel and optimizing how you feel and perform as a benchmarker instead of like, I need to get my vitamin D levels up 6 points because, somebody was freaking out about it. I think the world would be a much better place if people would be a lot happier, and happier people have better blood work anyway. So it's kind of like the chicken or the egg type thing. I know I just went on some crazy rant, but it's a big deal.
It's a great rant. And I appreciate you doing that, because you made me think a lot about how we over obsess about the wrong things like that. Like how much cholesterol medication has been given out because of LDL cholesterol number. The person feels great. They perform great, but the doctor says your LDL is high, so we got to get you on a statin. And then you get on a statin, and then all of that vitality you got, it's gone because you need cholesterol in your body. Your cholesterol does synthesize into vitamin D. Your brain cells are made of cholesterol. Every cell in your body is the membrane includes cholesterol. You need cholesterol for testosterone production or hormone production in general. And then they're like, well, we got your LDL down. Meanwhile, you feel like crap. You got brain fog. You're totally impotent because you can't make enough testosterone to perform, right? But you got your LDL down. So like you met the number, you did the number thing, but you don't feel good. And we've lost that connection, which is why I'm like you. I go, let's not obsess about that number. Who cares? Like, yeah, your A1C is important, right? But that's good. You'll know if your A1C is jacked because you'll feel it every day. You'll feel hungry all the time. You'll feel hangry. You'll be snacking all the time. You won't have stable blood sugar. Okay.
You'll be overweight.
You'll be overweight. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, people have genetic defects here and there. And it's like, okay, some people have like familial hypercholesterolemia. Some people have naturally high, are going to have naturally high blood sugar. But at the end of the day, like, what lengths are you willing to go to get there? I'm more concerned with how are you performing every day? And then this goes 100%. Into the nootropic space where it's like, people start obsessing about, their cognition, and they want to over optimize with so many nootropics, and they're spending so much money every month on, this racetam, new peps, this mushroom, that adaptogen, and they're spending the money. They've got the number. They say, if I just throw this number at the problem, then things will get better. And not only are they not getting better, but they're actually overburdening their liver. They're so they're actually not getting the sleep anymore. I know because I've been down this road, where you take too much of a supplement and then it's like your sleep is just because you're too wound up. You don't get the deep sleep. And then you wake up and you got the brain fog, and then you go, oh my God, I got the brain fog. What is the nootropic for the brain fog? And I know they do that because they go to my blog, because I have an article that's titled Best Nootropics for Brain Fog. And then they get those nootropics, and then they don't. And I'm not saying you shouldn't read my article. Please read my article because it's good information. But at the same time, what I try to tell people is like, that one thing isn't going to help you. We need to look at the overall picture. So that rant that you went on, and I just followed up with my own rant, is actually very apropos, because if at the end of the day, you're taking something, you could say, I can isolate and say this product or this lifestyle change has helped me feel this way. And that's what's great about the Oura Ring and the Whoop Strap, is because it will tell you like, hey, here's how you feel. And you go, you're right. I do feel like that. I do feel like I'm at an 85 ready. And you know what that feels like. I do feel like I got 2 hours of deep sleep last night. You're right. Or you go, I do feel like I got 15 minutes of deep sleep tonight. I do feel like my heart rate didn't lower. Oh, that's why I feel like shit today, because my heart rate didn't lower at all last night. Why would that be? Well, you drank, you ate just before you went to bed. Yeah. Whatever it is. You
doing after dinner espressos.
Yeah. Yeah. And hey, we all got to live our lives. But like I said, going back to thing, which was the Oura Ring change, because I finally realized like, oh, I don't sleep when I drink, I don't sleep when
I think about this, because this is a really big deal. And this is literally how I build products. If you remember what I was talking about earlier when I was getting into, how did you get here? And I was explaining about discipline. So what is the common thread with everything that we're talking about is they teach discipline. They teach paying attention and discipline to basically a healthy lifestyle. So when they gamify certain things, what it's doing is it's triggering triggering a physiological response in your brain of how you want to operate. It's a dopamine release technique. So when they're tricking you into being disciplined is what they're doing. And it's a good thing. It's a very, very, very good thing. And that's why those products work so well. They tap into your most primal psychology of completing tasks, being rewarded. It's all positive, rewards. And actually, because of the way that they're interactive, they make them very addicting, which is the gamification process. It's brilliant to do those things. We do a very similar type of thing with our product. Our product has, an app that integrates and it checks off the doses. It reminds you every single day through text message, hey, did you take your product? Did you do this? And they can track the very same thing. It's absolutely integrated into their daily life to make things as easy as humanly possible and go where you are, which is on your phone or your wearable.
Yeah. So I would love to ask you, do you have any data as far as, cognitive enhancement with this product?
Can you be more specific? Like, how are you, like, what kind of quantitative result are you looking for?
Okay. So that's kind of hard because obviously but like a memory test or something.
So I can say for cognitive stuff, I'll go from like kind of like a psychology perspective. We had an individual, he was actually 19, which is way lower than the typical users that we work with. I mean, we're working with 35 plus. Because that's when you really get hit with it.
Sure.
And to be very honest with you, most 19-year-olds can't can't afford our product. So we really focus on 35 plus. And this individual was suffering very deeply from, he destroyed his testosterone because he used exogenous promoters, for lack of a better term. And so he's 19, his testosterone's through the floor, which immediately is directly related to depression, anxiety, and social issues, which he was struggling with like really deeply. And at the same time, his sibling had died. And it was like this freakish, like, I hate to say perfect storm, but a perfect storm for bad stuff. And He was struggling very deeply from depression and anxiety. Like he didn't want to leave the house, et cetera. He had been on the products for a little over a month, and we heard from him. So these people will like just call us out of the blue. It's awesome. Call us. We get DMs all the time. And he literally reached out and was like, yes, on top of the physical response that I got from being able to work out, et cetera, he's like, one thing that I noticed, which was like a light switch, was that I stopped having the anxiety and the social anxiety issues of wanting to leave the home or staying away from people and basically socially isolating because he was in a depressive state. He said the increase of the sleep and the lowering of the stress and helping with his testosterone levels, that it helped and directly helped him from a psychological perspective of, removing that social anxiety that he had. So the testimonial was actually really powerful. It was crazy to hear. It was very unexpected, but to be honest, it actually isn't an isolated incident. We had another gentleman who's on the late 40s side. I believe he's 47. He lives in Chicago. It was really funny, Eric, because we were kind of talking about this, about, the big cities and having some issues with that. He lived in Chicago, very cynical guy, very like, not happy with the world, et cetera. And he called us, he called the offices and wanted to speak to somebody because he was afraid something was wrong. He had been taking the product for a month. Actually, it was 2 weeks. 2 weeks. I remember this. He'd been taking the product for 2 weeks. He was taking our AM formula and our PM formula. He was 47 years old. His name's Dominic. So I'll even throw his name out there. Very cynical guy, Chicago, not a happy dude. Anyway, the phone call went like this. He called the offices and was like, hey, I think something's wrong. I want to make sure I'm okay. And the individual answering the phone was like, tell us what's going on, because we're FDA compliant, we're FDA registered. We have to put in any type of issues that happen. We have to report those. So anyway, he calls in, he's like, hey, I think something's wrong with me. I gotta make sure I'm okay. And we're like, okay, what happened? What's going on? He's like, I don't know. But this morning I woke up and I went to the window, I opened the window and I said to myself, wow, today is going to be a great day. And he smiled and he's like, honestly, I feel like something might be wrong. Like, that's not me. I don't know what's going on. What's happening? And we're like, it's working. The product is working.
What are these and happiness?
Yeah. So, those are all direct quotes from this guy. It was really crazy stuff. It was really funny to hear because it was so unexpected from a physiological perspective, because I know now, because we acquired the data of what he's been dealing with. He's an overweight guy, poor eating habits, very low exercise. Well, that directly relates to blood sugar utilization, blood sugar issues. Well, when your blood sugar sucks, for lack of a better term, we'll keep it non-medical. When your blood sugar sucks, your energy sucks. Your brain doesn't work. You have sexual dysfunction. It's low blood sugar. Number one is directly tied, let me put it this way. Diabetes, lots of diabetes cases can be directly related to inadequate or improper insulin-like growth factor 1 levels, which is growth factors, IGF-1. When you have blood sugar issues, sounds like you're knowledgeable about blood sugar utilization, et cetera. When you have those issues, I'm sure some of your listeners probably deal with this stuff. It's directly related to depression, anxiety. Your body doesn't work. You have very low energy. Your body doesn't know how to use food, period. So if your body doesn't know how to use food right, food is an energy source. If your energy sucks and you can't sleep and all of these things are triggered, well, your brain's not going to work the right way. So it's this big circle of fun stuff that we can directly relate what kind of happened with him. Coincidentally, the guy lost 6 inches in less than 2 months off no exercise and no change in diet, which is crazy. Wow. But 100% blood sugar issue. I'm not a doctor. This isn't medical advice, but the science would show immediately that he had blood sugar utilization problems.
Yeah. And this is the thing we talk about all the time. It's kind of the point of my channel is to show people, demonstrate to people, have these discussions about the direct ties between your metabolism, how your blood sugar, how your insulin, how this works, and how it ties directly to your mood, how it directly ties to your ability to perform, perform well cognitively. So that's such a great story. These stories are. One last thing I wanted to ask you about, like the product itself, then I wanted to kind of like wrap things up here. Immunity. How does this work with like your immune system? Is this like people with autoimmune disorders, that sort of thing, and with gut issues? Like how does this help with that?
So I will tell you that there is a lot of science. Specifically, I hate to mention it again, but it's true, behind IGF-1 and immune system response, T cell creation, which are your immune function cells. There is a ton of science behind boosting your immunity just by literally cell creation, T cell creation, et cetera. Blood oxygen potency or oxygen potency levels in your blood. So let's make it real easy. Yes, the science would show that growth factors help to increase adequate growth factor levels will increase the immune function of your body.
Okay. So basically at the end of the day, this is just boosting your like growth factor. It's doing other things, but this is like one of the big perks to it. And that kind of works in all of these other pathways.
And so we get into these conversations a lot and we do these interviews and it's like, well, it does all these things. Well, it does. I mean, there's 13 different bioidentical growth factors within the formula. They're all responsible for different functions of the body. So they do tons of stuff. I mean, you're talking from fibroblast and EGF, which is epidermal growth factor, and fibroblast growth factor that literally spur the multiplication and differentiation of collagen cells in your face. I mean, that's anti-wrinkling. That literally is why your skin starts to sag. I mean, and then you're talking about all the way down to IGF-1, which can actually speed up recovery of soft tissues, ligaments, tendons, wounds, platelet-derived growth factor, and stem cell proteins that literally can help speed up wounds like flesh. It encompasses a lot of different stuff because there's, 13 different cellular signals are all within the product that are signaling different processes to occur and or accelerate.
Is there a problem though with like cancer growth? Like,
Great question.
Yeah.
I was waiting for that one.
Okay.
So how about this? Yes, there is when you use synthetic growth factors. So there's only, and I do this all the time because my job, Eric, is literally to be assaulted, verbally accosted by physicians to prove, and this isn't all of them, I'm generalizing here. So if you're a doctor, please do not get upset with me. But part of my job is literally to be verbally accosted by physicians around the country to prove me wrong. That's just how the medical industry works. If there's anything cool, if there's anything new, if something works, somebody wants to prove you wrong. That's my job. And that's fine. One of the main questions I get all the time is cancer. Yep, cancer. Well, that's actually not entirely true for molecularly identical or non-synthetic growth factors. Not one physician, and this is a challenge I put out to doctors all the time, is, you know what? You're right. Send me an email, send me a study that proves that there will be elevated cancer levels from non-synthetic growth factor use. I have never, not one, in years, never received one study. In fact, I never hear from those individuals again, but I've never received one study ever. There is one study that continuously pops up, and it is, to be very specific, it is synthetic growth factor use, and it is in females with breast tissue or pre-existing breast cancer issues, somewhere in there. I hate to quote it because I don't want to misquote it, but that is where the study takes place. That is what the study bases around. But that ain't us. We don't use synthetic anything. That is literally the opposite of what our whole business stands for. I'm not against pharmaceutical drug. Excuse me. I'm not against specific pharmaceutical drug use for specific issues, depending upon the patient and what their need level is. Are there pharmaceutical drugs that are being overprescribed? Yeah, all the time. However, I'm not a big anti-drug guy, depending upon the application. We just don't make that stuff. Our entire business is to give people the alternative for something that isn't an injection, isn't a synthetic drug, doesn't cause all the side effects, and doesn't cause all the problems and crazy stuff that comes along with a lot of those literally specific things.
Yeah. So basically at the end of the day, these are bioidentical growth factors that your body will recognize as the natural growth factors that come as end products of using HGH, but you're not using the HGH. So you're not using this synthetic thing that your body's going to overproduce, and your pituitary is going to recognize like, hey, we got to shut it down and cause all these problems.
It's molecularly identical. It's the exact same as the growth factors you're already getting. They're being extracted from another mammal. You're taking them directly, and your body doesn't know the difference. All it knows is that it just has more of it. It doesn't cause what you just talked about, which is called a negative feedback loop. It's basically, it is what it is, man. It's all the good stuff and none of the bad. I mean, that's literally our business. But yeah, that's what's up. That's what it is.
Awesome. Dustin, this has been great, man. I know we could chat for a while, but we got to get out of here. Real quick, pricing, what does this cost, and for any holistic nootropics listener, can we get a discount?
100%. So I would love nothing more than for your guys to check it out, your guys and gals, your listeners to check it out. I would be thoroughly happy to hear about anybody and their experiences. We love getting those messages. But yeah, the AM formula, the Big Mac Daddy, our most popular product to date, and we're talking over a decade, is our BioPro Plus. That's on the website. It's $299.99. It's $299.99. Get you your first month. It integrates with your phone, does all kinds of cool stuff. The sleep formula is $99. If you want to go onto the website, use Holistic Nootropics in the discount code little function, we'll give you $30 off, so you can get a great head start. And you can check us out on the website. It's bioproteintech.com. That's bioproteintech.com. And the Instagram is where a lot of fun stuff happens too. And you can go check us out there, ask us any questions, interact, whatever you want to do. That's Bioprotein Tech as well. So it's at BIOPROTEINTECH. And ask your questions, hit us up, tell us what you think. We love hearing from everybody.
Yeah, exciting. And then when we release this, I'll put all that in the description and the show notes. So we'll have direct links there, and definitely take advantage. I think this is a really interesting product, dude. And I really hope people check it out and let us know what you think, because if it's what it is, if it's what Dustin says it is, then it like the Oura Ring could change your life. So very exciting. 100%. Very exciting. Dustin, thanks so much for joining me today. Listener, viewer, if you enjoyed this, be sure to check out all of Dustin's information at the provided links below. And for all things Holistic Nootropics, head on over to holisticnootropics.com. Until next time, everybody, peace.
Thanks for listening. For more brain-boosting info, in-depth articles, and show notes, check out holisticnootropics.com.